Marco Rubio's appointment as new Secretary of State, together with Tom Honen's appointment to oversee United States borders and deportation of illegal immigrants, is a welcome feature for his government, to which, by the way, most people voted for. Marco Rubio must be credited by methodically speaking and writing everything in both English and Spanish, even though it's time-consuming and tedious, because he is able to communicate with North America and with South America simultaneously, as there is no language barrier with Marco Rubio. One reason why America has been artificially separated has been the language barrier. Communists in Cuba, and more recently Venezuela, Bolivia, and Nicaragua have despised the use of English language, as they portray it as the language of imperialism, capitalism, and other misleading, deplorable tags. Communists have excelled in promoting hatred between brothers and sisters of the Americas, which should be bound together as Americans of the Western Hemisphere. The reason why communists have been so vocal in blaming the United States of America has been to keep all the features of capitalism exclusive for their elite clique. You may see how the family of Fidel Castro, Raúl Díaz-Canel, Hugo Chávez, and Nicolás Maduro are wealthy billionaires who enjoy access to the most luxurious property in the planet while enslaving their own populations to an utter lack of property opportunities and to systems of government to which people would like to flee. And as people want to flee, they flood United States borders with refugees. So an influx of people that should not be moving north moves north, which creates an overcrowding of the United States population that must be stopped. People trafficking gangs have made fortunes in promoting northward migration, which Tom Honen is determined to stop. People should remain in their countries unless there are compelling reasons to move out. Left-wing propaganda of flooding the United States with uneducated population, drugs, and crime so that they destroy the American enemy from within is unacceptable, and Tom Honen must stop it immediately. A lot of people make the conscious decision of giving childbirth in the United States so that children can become a vehicle for citizenship to parents. That is unacceptable, and as those are children created for the sole purpose of providing United States citizenship to their parents, that must not continue. Such families must be deported back to their countries of origin, which are suffering an utter depopulation movement. Human traffic and drug traffic cartels must be fought and dismantled. It is our wish that Tom Honen completes this executive power brilliantly. Marco Rubio is a perfect choice for State Department Secretary of State. As he is bilingual, he will be able to communicate effectively in the two most important languages of the Western world, Spanish, and English. He will be able to immediately free Latin America from the dictatorships of Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and he will be able to warn soon-to-be dictatorships of Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and Honduras that communism is not acceptable, that all the American states must unite in free market economy and in the pursuit of values inherited throughout Western civilization, dating back to Jewish, Christian, Greek, and Roman roots. It is not acceptable that the American continent is flooded with communist propaganda from China, Iran, Russia, and other enemies of freedom. Dictatorships in the Western Hemisphere must be overthrown. Marco Rubio himself has seen how his family had to flee Cuba many decades ago, and still the island has not been freed. Stubbornness of Cuban dictatorship, which has survived almost a century, is probably the biggest single failure of United States foreign policy during our lifetime and beyond. Permissiveness towards Venezuelan dictatorship, which is quickly approaching the horror of Cuban dictatorship, must not be tolerated. Marco Rubio must make very clear to dictators of Venezuela and Cuba that they must leave, and assurances must be provided to impoverished inhabitants of Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Bolivia that soon democratic governments aligned with the rest of Latin America and the United States and Canada will soon provide opportunities for economic growth. Terrorists from Iran, China, Russia, and other foreign powers which are not part of the Western Hemisphere or the Americas must also be deported back to their continent of origin. Eurasia has lots of land where invaders to the Americas may relocate. The Americas must form a fantastic security operation to make sure that America is only for Americans and our values are protected from transcontinental threats. Marco Rubio will also be responsible for seeking a swift end to the conflicts of Israel, Gaza, and Iran, Russia, and Ukraine. Hopefully, the multicultural heritage of Marco Rubio's family, Cuban exiles in Florida, may provide him a worldview with understanding of each side's position and work quickly to settlement of disputes that would not have been formed so that the world may move on to further development into the future. Less than a week after being elected, Donald Trump is proving through appointments such as Marco Rubio and Tom Walz that it is possible to be swift and efficient and make America great again. Of course, Democrats who are eager to continue letting America be flooded with communism and terrorism will not appreciate the law and order approach that the rest of the American continent is demanding. Citizens of Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and Cuba need coordinated efforts of Marco Rubio to exert enough pressure so that our dictators leave or cede power. And we also depend on Tom Honan in dismantling illegal immigration and deporting whoever entered the United States illegally, to set an example that leaving your homeland just because it has been a media propaganda advice to people to flee their countries will no longer be acceptable. People should remain in their home countries so that economic development may occur, and to that end, the rule of law and free enterprise will be made possible by an active United States political decision in helping overthrow anachronistic communist governments in the Americas, which shall be free from sea to shining sea.